Well, all right. New game. That's exciting stuff. Let's take a look at this. This is Conquest, the last argument of kings. And this sort of like super dark gothic fantasy is really my shit, boys. I believe this artist worked on Confrontation and maybe some other kind of classic European style miniature war games. It looks like Dark Souls. Very cool. Look at this armor. It's kind of like War of the Rose style. What kind of stylized, and then these crazy biological undead horrors, but they're not like traditional undead. It's really cool. This thing's amazing. Look at this. Look at this paint. That's an extremely cool box. Outside of the box, same stuff. So there's 4 factions in this game as far as I'm aware. There's the 100 Kingdoms and the Spires are the 2 that are in here. And these are probably about 600 point armies is what I gather. And typically people play somewhere in between 1200, 1500, maybe 2000 is a big game. It's pretty similar to Rune Wars, if you've ever played that, and A Song of Ice and Fire, and Warhammer Fantasy. Those are probably the 3 games it takes the most from what I can tell. I haven't dug super hard into the rulebook yet. I've mostly been drooling over the models on the internet. It has, besides this awesome dark fantasy and like weird centaur, undead, biological horrors, and I mean this is just such my shit. I'm super excited about this. It has one of my favorite things though. It has big boy models, and let's take a look at it and we can talk about the scale of this game and why that excites me. All right, we get the lid of this box on. Hell yeah, boys! Got it. Just that new game feeling it's just the best, isn't it? It's just like that, just that waft, that Chinese factory smell right into your nostrils. Just inject that shit directly into my veins. That's our rulebook. Pretty small form factor, to be honest. I've looked at it on the internet. I've looked at the PDF, but I have not cracked this open, so we'll take a look at that. And we got some standard 12mm D6s, nothing too thrilling there. Some game cards with some very sweet art. A Pharaohmancer who looks like a H.R. Giger undead guy. It's really nice to see a fantasy game that isn't just another regurgitation of Tolkien shit. But yep, these are all the stat cards for the units included in the game, I assume. And then sprues. We've got our pile of sprues here in the top of the box. We've got the bottom of the box, so we can look at this and compare it to this and figure out what the hell we're looking at, because it's kind of hard sometimes looking at sprues. I don't see any instructions to assemble stuff. I think they might be on the website. So we've got our Spires. Brute drones. That's these dudes. 3 brute drones. These big Frankenstein looking 12-foot tall monsters. I can't tell if that's supposed to be like kind of a chitin or like a bone. I think when I paint mine, I'm probably going to do it more like a biological, like pinks and fleshiness than that bone. But I don't know. We'll see. So this is the sprue for these dudes. And they are very large. So you can see like the lower body there in the box. That is our enormous giant legs here. So you're looking at, you know, torso and legs glued together. That's probably a good 2.5 inches tall. Kind of remind me also of like the Persians from 300. Speaking of really exciting stuff, this is obviously the centerpiece from this kit. The Spires come with this giant monster, which is called an Abomination. The Abomination is, you know, this game's equivalent of like a giant or a vehicle or something. I think there's 3 sizes of bases in this game. From what I gather, I'm not an expert yet. You've got your infantry stands, which is like a square with 4 round bases in it. You've got your kind of medium monsters or monster bases, which are like these. I think it's the same size as this base, just one big dude on it. And you've got real big lad double monster bases. And obviously that's much bigger. I think that base is about 4 inches across. We'll take a look at it as we get down to the bottom here. But that's the Abomination. He's the centerpiece for the Spires. Looks like the human guys don't have any big giants, but they've got cavalry, which are probably going to be pretty sweet too. This had popped off in the box. Looks like everything's okay. Just sort of popped out of the sprue as a large piece, and that's just the head right there here on the box. So I would imagine this kit, you know, if that's a 4-inch base, he's probably a good 6 inches tall when he's assembled. I will definitely be assembling mine in a little less of a static pose than this. I think these are all ball jointed, the arms and such. Let's take a look here and see. A lot of parts on the sprue. So I think, yeah, you can see there's like some rounded ball joints here. The hands, you know, ball and socket type joints. But that thing is awesome. I love new pile of sprue days so much. Alright, so this, I'm not sure who makes these for them. You know, obviously, it's unlikely that Bellum has their own plastic casting, but maybe they do. But my guess is that these are, you know, third-party kind of casts, kind of like the Asmodee stuff for Marvel, Warlord Games, Malifaux. It's all kind of done by third parties, is my understanding. I think really only Games Workshop owns their own plastic facilities, but, you know, citation needed. Don't take that my word on that. But the interesting thing about these sprues is this is a large sprue, and there's actually kind of like a lot of, it's not symmetrically cut, right? Like you don't have the typical gridding. It's all sort of organic curves. It's kind of interesting. And these look like these lads here. You get 6 stands, so what's that, 24 dudes? 24 force-grown drones. That's hard to say. And that's a total of 6 infantry stands. So I think those are like line infantry. They look like they have like a spear and a shield, or like a halberd and a shield. Their shields are like big, gross H.R. Geiger bone art sculptures. Like look at the inside of that shield. That's awesome. Big weapons. There's a head. These guys look probably like they're a solid, like maybe like the body is probably about the size of a Primaris Marine. So definitely bigger than your typical miniature wargaming scale. Definitely significantly bigger than most rank and file games. Rank and file games tend to trend towards smaller minis. Now we're gonna look at some humans. 100 Kingdoms. They have even I would say these kind of line infantry types have some pretty interesting armor. I think it's kind of like Rose Little Wars, War of the Roses style. And then these knights have some really ornate stuff. Another influence on some of this I think might be Berserk, which I think is also based on War of the Roses. But let's take a look at these dudes. So we've got, it looks like we've got, these are crossbows, this particular sprue. And we've got, there's a full-size body so you can get an idea of height. We have a Song of Ice and Fire Lannister in Lannister pink, because they come in red plastic and then you prime them white and then they look pink, because colored plastic is garbage. Good game though, but colored plastic sucks. We got a Primaris Marine, we got old Baron Zemo. Definitely significantly bigger than a Song of Ice and Fire model. Alright, another sprue full of a lot of parts. And these guys are definitely, they have a bulkiness to them, and I think that's kind of the art style. Supposed to be very, very heavily armored infantry. I mean, those are some enormous shields by comparison. Not just big, tall, but big, like bulky. Like I would say that they're a little more like heroically scaled, like a GW model, than, you know, this guy or Zemo, who are more traditional. I would say more like realistic. You know, these models, if you size them up to human size, would look much more real than this, which is a little more kind of exaggerated, and that's okay. Just art style choices. But these are pretty interesting. They're gonna have a lot of volume on the base and a lot of volume on the table for sure. All right, now that's an interesting sprue as well. We've got what looks like some command pieces, I think, banners and things. Let's see what's on the. Oh, you know what? Yeah, those are objective markers. So looks like there's 6 objective markers. They're themed to the army, so that's like 100 Kingdom stuff, and that's like gross Spires, biological sex dungeon stuff. Then we've got the actual bases here, which are really cool. I really like those, actually. Those would be like cool bases for miniatures too, just to put on there. There's that banner. And then on this sprue, it looks like there are 2 cavalry, which are... No, sorry, there's 1. There's just 2 halves of the horse. Huge models. And that is a really, really big horse model. And then this guy down here, I believe he is the Pharaohmancer. So each faction in the starter looks like it has like 1 character model. So that's him here. I really love that. Like, look at that. It's like a gas mask with like what looks like, you know, hoses, but they're really more like biological looking. Like, man, these are dope. I love when I can look at stuff and I'm not just like, oh yeah, that's X thing from X fantasy world that I've seen 100 times. You know, you just get it sort of saturated with the same styles of art. So when something new comes along like this, it's an homage to other things, but it's not overtly a copy of existing stuff that's been around a long time. And that's really exciting. More cavalry, looks like 1 more horse, so this whole sprue I think is just 1 dude. You know, and looking at the plastic, well, now that I've gotten accustomed to the size of them, the plastic is reasonably well detailed. I think it's probably similar to Marvel Crisis Protocol plastics or Malifaux. It's not GW plastic. It's not cut as sharply. The cuts are not as deep as far as like the details. It's not quite as hard, although this is pretty firm plastic, so that's nice. It looks like the normal plastic that plastic cement would work on. Ooh, look at that. Look what that says. I hope you guys can read that, but that says made in the USA. Huh. Oh, the plot thickens. So the box doesn't smell like China, it smells like home. I stand corrected. Well, I like it even more. Assembled and manufactured in the United States. Look at that. How did I miss that? That's exciting stuff. I wonder who makes this. I mean, it's manufactured by Bellum, which is in Cyprus, which I believe is near Spain. Boy, am I a worldly man. Just setting myself up for getting yelled at here. All right, so there's another giant horse sprue, and I believe it's the same giant horse sprue as we had before. So there should be a total, and one of those, oh, you know what? I bet one of those sprues was the Lord. That's why it had a little extra. He's got like a real cool like bronze face mask thing going on. I think actually all these dudes have some kind of like mask on their helmet. I really dig that armor aesthetic like that. It's kind of like European samurai looking to me. All right, and then another sprue, another abomination sprue. So there's going to be 2 total sprues for that guy, a lot of parts. So looks like I would say a lot of parts for these models. Going to be definitely some assembly time, and it looks like there's going to be some probably fairly serious mold line type seams to deal with, which is fine, but it's just something to be ready for. But for an inexperienced hobbyist, they may be a little more difficult than the GW type stuff. And the last thing is this enormous pile of bases, which we won't get too super excited about bases, but this is going to be your standard infantry base. It looks like it is 25 mil, I would guess. So we've got, this is what a unit would look like. I think most units, typically when you purchase them outside of like a starter box like this, you're going to get 3 bases worth of infantry if you're buying an infantry unit. And yep, there, they'll just go right in like that. From what I can see from the pictures, dudes tend to be, like, their feet tend to be right on the outside edge of those bases, so they kind of fill that square pretty nicely. So it's kind of like a Song of Ice and Fire, really. You get 12 infantry in a box. The only difference is instead of it all being on 1 tray, you get 3 trays. That looks like a 50 mil base. I think this is what these dudes are on and what the cav are on. We have 1 gigantic monster big boy base, and that is very much for that dude there, clearly. So open up the cards. We got a Pharaohmancer, force-grown drones. Force-grown drones, that's hard to say. Brute drones, abomination. Noble Lord. Ooh, look at that helmet. Look at that art. Ah, it rules. I'm very excited by the art of this game. Now, these look like objectives of some sort. Yeah, this objective is completed if one of your regiments completes a successful charge, and it was the first successful charge that turn. Like a good scenario system, hopefully the scenario system is good and robust. That is pretty much what makes games last in my local meta. We're pretty experienced dudes, so when games have kind of simplified, not that robust scenario systems, they don't tend to last. So yeah, so we've got unit cards, and then the rest of this stuff is objectives. Above average. All right, so my book got a little chewed up in the box. It kind of laid on top of the sprues. There wasn't really much, like sometimes there's like a cardboard layer or something that protects the components. Doesn't really look like it with this. This game does not come with any sort of measuring tools or widgets or anything like that. It just, you know, I guess it's assuming you've got a tape measure or a ruler at home, which I think is an okay assumption. The form factor of the book is kind of appealing. I'm not really much of a rulebook guy. I tend to like try to use PDFs on a tablet when I play a lot of times, but a book this size is much more appealing than a full-size book, as long as it's readable and the font's, you know, big enough for old guys like me. Yeah, I like the aesthetic of this a lot. This is kind of what the website looks like too. Oh yeah, look at that dude. Yeah, they didn't skimp on art, and that is a big deal to me. Not just because I like flipping through books and looking at cool pictures, but it often goes hand in hand that like companies that spend the money on good artists, they tend to have better miniatures, better ideas, better concepts, just better art design, and that's a huge selling point for me. The game's got to be good, right? We got to play it, but the miniatures got to be good, and I've got to be interested in them. And so far, they've got my attention. Yeah, I love that. Like, you can't turn your head armor. It's really cool. I don't know how practical it is, but it looks cool. That's the one of the dwarfs from the dwarf faction. They're like, I think they're kind of like not dwarfs. They have some kind of themes to them. There's like a lot of flame, again, fire theme to them. Yeah, and this is at this size, this is perfectly usable because the text is very legible. It's not a full-size book that's been shrunk down, including the fonts, so very nice. This is first pass. I'm not advocating that this is the greatest game of all time. I don't know yet, but I'm excited by what I see, primarily aesthetically, but I think this book is promising as well. So I'll come back with more when I know more, but for now, this is a fun quarantine project for me to paint up these armies and then maybe expand them, or maybe start one of the other factions in this game. So far there's 4 factions. Now hype is at a full 100%. The dial has been turned to 11. So yeah, that's all we got on this one. Probably the next step will be I'll be time-lapsing some assembly of some of the models, showing off them before they get primed, and then we'll work through some painting on them. I'm not sure which faction I'm going to start first, or if I'm just going to ham-bone through the entire box. We'll see. I'll bring you some more Conquest content, and hope you like it. I got a feeling I will.